Monday, everybody. Welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like the videos. Any other places too.
Yeah, all those places.
And make sure you read the criteria because we score MMA fights and you should know that.
Once in a while we do that. And when I say once in a while, I mean like once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah. I mean, that's once in a while. You know, there's 6 other days where we're not doing that.
Not always.
Yeah, that's not true. But
some days there's 9 days in between.
There's just only, well, yeah, that's true. And then sometimes, you know, we're just, usually what I really mean here, sir, is that, of course, we only talk about it on our program 7 days a week apart. Unless, again, yeah, sometimes you go to Vegas.
Yeah, I wish I went more often.
You can move there.
You know what? Maybe one day I probably will.
You're going to end up in Vegas, you
Maybe,
think?
yeah.
Yeah?
One day.
All right. Well, we shall see. You know, before we get on the business at hand for this weekend's UFC event, I do want to circle back, Dan, real quick to last week with PFL.
You didn't even fill me in on this. So
I didn't
fill
fill
you
you
brand new to me.
Nah, I didn't fill you in, but I just wanted. I figured I would just bring this up. This was kind of in light of some conversations I've had since then, right? So what I'm referring to specifically from the PFL Championship event last weekend is the event we spoke about where one of the judges, Jalin Beneil, came to the seat at the beginning of the Jesus Pinedo versus Gabriel Braga fight for the featherweight championship. Looked like right before the fight started, right? And as I understand it, it's because that seat was not occupied by the judge who was originally assigned to be there, which ended up being Doug Crosby, who did come to his seat later on, subbed in, I guess you could call it, between rounds 1 and 2, which, as we spoke about, not in and of itself a crazy occurrence for one judge to take the seat of another. Usually, from my understanding, the protocol would be that happens when there's a health event involved, which my understanding is there was not in this particular case. But one thing that, again, from some conversations I had with some officials since we recorded our show, since our show published and all that, is how much a lot of officials who, you know, caught wind of this situation and understand this situation really thought what Jalin Beneil did was like such a heads up, big saving move because, again, the seat was basically empty up until that point. He identifies it and immediately gets over there and saves the day, basically.
Okay.
And that was kind of the thing. I don't know if we had talked about clear enough here because I don't think I had a good full understanding from talking to you know, more officials as I could. You know, can't talk to everybody, right? But that was something that a lot of people really appreciated about the situation, was just how much of like it really was like a big save, and that Jalin Beneil kind of saved the day in that scenario.
So he just saw an empty seat and was like, "Oh, someone's got to sit there."
That's my understanding, yeah.
And if no one did, they wouldn't have started the fight.
I mean, presumably not, but what would they do? You know.
Well, the ref's got to acknowledges all
yes,
the judges.
yes, of course.
If he doesn't see one,
right?
Shouldn't start the fight.
Of course, but
and then be like, "Oh, I need a judge," and then I guess
that is how it's supposed to be done. I would assume Fernando Yamasaki was the referee in this case. I would assume he would have caught that, but even if he does catch it, what we have now is we have to say, okay, now we have to find a judge to sit in here. Somebody's got to sit in there. So then it identifies that situation broadly. It makes the commission look bad. It makes the officials look bad. And you know how much the MMA community frowns upon officials doing anything other than being sterling, right? It would not be a good look, to be fair. It absolutely would not. But again, that whole situation was avoided because, as I understand it, Jalin Beneil saw that was a situation that needed to be addressed and just sprung into action and coordinated with other officials to make sure everything was good.
Well, that's good on him.
Yeah. So that was really the only thing
still
that
should have been his whole fight.
Well, I would agree. That at that point, that's really how it ought to be. And it'd be really nice for something like that to be like codified in the rules or something, you know, like no matter what happens, like there's no reason that we need to give up the seat unless, again, there is a health situation. If there is nothing that necessitates a switch, that person should stay. And that I feel like something like that should be like very specifically on the books if it is not already, which I understand it not to be.
He should have deboed Doug Crosby. It's my fight now.
That would have been good. I feel like in a situation like that, it's like there's only so much you can do, right? Because you can't figure this out forever. You can't sit there and argue about it. So it might just be simpler to just give it up. And in one of those, I'm speculating here, but I imagine it was something along those lines. Like he's in that seat. You can see Doug Crosby hovering behind him. So I have to imagine there was some form of communication there. It couldn't have been easy to get to that seat either. There are a lot of people in the way to get there. So there's clearly some determination to have gotten this job done. And I imagine it was one of those things that just in the moment, you just make that decision and say, okay, sure, take it. But again, the entire situation was saved from being a bigger thing by the sheer fact of this fight ending in the 3rd round. So fortunately, bullet dodged, but hopefully the lesson that comes out of this is, hey, let's have a real protocol in place here. You're not there at the start, finish it unless you can't.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it ought to be. But again, that was really the one thing about that particular situation I just wanted to bring to light was how much that is viewed in the officiating community as man, look what Jaren did. That was heads up. That was good play. So that was really it.
All right. Oh yeah, good on Jaren.
Sure. On to this week's events though, from UFC Austin, which Austin being a city in Texas, we are conditioned to worry about what's going to happen when the UFC hits Texas and when the fights hit the scorecards. We got lucky in 2 ways. Number one, most of these fights did not hit the scorecards.
A lot of finishes.
We had a whole lot of finishes. It was highly entertaining. But number two, overall, we just didn't have like a terribly judged event. It was perfectly normal, I think.
I got a beef with one.
I understand, but I know the one we're talking about here, and we will get to that. But we don't have a situation where
I got a beef with 2 then.
But we don't.
If you know the one, I don't think you know the other.
Maybe. But we don't have a situation where someone turned in like a bad scorecard that like the wrong person almost won, right? Or am I wrong here? Oh, I guess hey, all right. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Dan and I did not communicate about this particular part before the show. So yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to say. I would say this. I don't think we have had nearly as bad a situation for this event as we've had in previous situations.
Oh, no. I would agree.
I think
I would agree with there.
Let's put it this way. Is this high on the list of Texas events?
No. This one would fly on this
high in quality.
Fights, yeah.
No. On the judging.
As far as Texas goes, yes. Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah.
Great on the Texas curve.
Yeah.
Yep. This will be like the tone setting one, right? But of course, the main fight from this card that we're going to be talking about is Arman Tsarukyan. Main event does not go past 65. It was 64 seconds officially. Gets the knockout of Beneil Dariush. Big win, huge win, biggest of his career by far. He's now in the mix at 155, dude. Book him in the other top fights. Now, what do you want to see next for these guys?
All right. Well, Beneil's unfortunately out of the mix.
He's definitely out of the mix at this moment for sure.
I would do.
So let's do it this way. Title fight. What's the next title fight?
Fight.
You want.
Okay.
I don't care about what's going to happen. What do you want next?
Oh, that's easy. Jim versus Islam.
Fine. I should have done something different here. I knew what you were going to do when I said it. I'm like, darn it, this guy. All right,
Gaethje Islam.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping for. Something along those lines. I think I'm with you. All right, so let's put that one out there. What do you do with Arman Tsarukyan next?
I mean, Michael Chandler's got to fight someone, right? Is he hurt?
I think he's just waiting for Conor McGregor.
That's never happening.
Just pretend they're like in a different world.
All right, so pretend Chandler and McGregor are booked.
Chandler's losing a bunch of fights anyway. Tsarukyan should be fighting someone on the way up, or at least who's already.
Well, he's ahead of him. Guess go Dustin Tsarukyan.
I actually like that fight a lot. I think that's a really good fight. Although I wouldn't hate. I'm going to go another way, actually. I'm going to say Arman Tsarukyan against Charles Oliveira because they both have finishes of Beneil Dariush recently. And I think the winner legitimately could be the next title shot. It would be very easy. No one would argue it otherwise, especially if you're already putting Gaethje there.
I mean, this division's so tough to avoid rematches.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that. Either Tsarukyan or Oliveira or Poirier.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm with that, too. And then, yeah, I guess... who'd you say? Poirier, right?
Poirier,
so I left Poirier out of that mix then. So I would say probably Poirier against, I don't know, what do you do with Poirier?
He says he only wants stuff that interests him, right?
Yeah, that's true. But let's just pretend he's going to be interested in what we say. What do you think interests him?
It would be a rematch, right?
Which one?
Any of them would be something. Like, you would get up for the Oliveira fight.
Well, we already booked Oliveira.
Then all you have, Mateusz Gamrot, I don't think he gets excited for that.
Probably not. What about Fiziev?
I don't think he gets excited for that either.
He should. That's a fun fight.
It's a fun fight for
So
us.
I'm booking it.
But it's a fight that it's not going to push him any further, really.
Well, let's just pretend that we've offered that fight, and if he turns it down, we have to extend their contract, and if he doesn't take it, then we'll put him on the prelims against a really hard guy.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah. I mean, this is getting ugly. I was never a fan of Joe Silva.
Yeah.
But he's just becoming more and more unlikable.
This is basically everything that I had been hearing about Joe for a while. It's just now we're seeing it. It's kind of like the proof of it.
Like, we've seen text messages get released.
Sure.
Before where he, like, the guy's like 20. He's like, I'll offer you 18 and 18. And he's like, oh, I want 24 and 24. And his response is LOL. Things like that. It's like, oh, all
yeah.
right.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, though. This is kind of on brand, right?
Yeah.
As far as Dariush, though, kind of move on a bit. What's the deal with him now? I mean, did he miss his window to reach the title shot? Like, because now he's lost 2 in a row.
He missed it because they wouldn't let him take it.
Sure, and I understand that. What I'm saying is, like, is this gone now? Did the opportunity just move on?
It's gone.
Not that there was an opportunity there, but like even the chance at the opportunity, it seems gone too. I'm with you.
Getting finished twice.
Yeah.
You
I think he would have to go on such an insane run, or just be a body that's available when they need them like the most. Mm-hmm. Like he just happens to be there and almost on weight, and they're in a disaster scenario, and it's like, well, he could credibly step in. Sure, we know he's been up there for a while, but yeah, I think you're right. I think he definitely, and again, that he didn't miss anything in terms of he passed on it. He kind of got skipped over, and he waited his turn, and eventually it just didn't happen for him.
I think you can do Jalin Turner versus him.
Interesting.
I think you can get Turner. Okay, maybe you can make that step into the top 10. And for Dariush, it's a step down in competition.
I don't hate that.
So maybe a get right fight for you, possibly, if you can win.
I'm sure there's other fights that I would find interesting for Jalin Turner as well, but I don't hate that idea.
Well, good.
I think I'm with you. I'll go with you for now.
Yeah.
You have my tentative seal of approval.
Okay, just a tentative.
Just a tentative one. I gotta do my due diligence. Gotta check it out. Davison Figueiredo, though, he was not the co-main here, but I mean, he is the most recent man on this event to have won a championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. We had 2 former champions on this card. Neither of them were in the main or the co-main.
That was weird. I did think of that when that happened. I said, why is this not the co-main? I mean, then I started thinking. I started remembering, what even is the co-main? And then I didn't bother looking it up. But
and what fight was that, by the way?
It was I'll let you tell it because it's your fight.
It is. They were calling it. And I hate to beat a dead horse because everybody was hearing about this all week. The fight for Fontana. They've been calling this the fight for Fontana ad nauseum. I know people are getting tired of it, but it's true. It was the fight for Fontana. Jalin Turner against Bobby Green. Both fighters introduced as from Fontana, fighting out of Fontana, California.
Yeah, your hometown.
Mm-hmm. My hometown. Named for me. I've never been there, but I know I feel proud to have a town named specifically for me.
Do you feel proud that your pizza in your town is terrible?
No, I don't feel proud of that. California pizza is no good.
No.
Yeah, California Pizza Kitchen isn't. You ever been there?
Years and years ago.
I will say, like, look, it's like a fine place to go if you literally don't care about pizza and you just need food.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's where you would go and you just say to yourself, like, I'm kind of sad and I don't mind what I eat at all right now. I guess we can go to California
kind of like
Pizza
Subway.
Kitchen. Yeah, so I ordered Domino's today. You know why I ordered Domino's?
You wanted Domino's.
Well, that was part of it, but also they gave me a free pie. I had points.
Yeah, but
that were going to expire.
We've discussed this, though.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that in audience.
Domino's is Domino's. If you wanted pizza, you would have gotten from a regular pizza parlor.
And we, of course, predominantly do that. But once in a while, you're like, it'd be fun to have some Domino's.
Yeah.
You know? They've got cheesy bread now. They got stuffed cheesy bread, I should say, that has pepperoni in it now.
Mm.
That's new. Wasn't bad.
Who would have thought that'd be new?
I know, right? I'm a little surprised how long it took them to think of that, too. Anyway, I want to get back to Davis Figueiredo because he is neither good pizza nor bad pizza, but he's a damn good fighter. Great win over Rob Font.
Yeah.
Where do we put him now? Because that bantamweight, I think, for a while seemed like it really ought to be his home. Obviously, he could still make the weight, and he was fantastic at flyweight, but I think he's better off health-wise, and so many fighters do fantastic once they move up. He has a chance to chase that 2-division title as well. It's going to be hard to do that, at his age, he is older. And lightweight fighters don't necessarily have as long a shelf life. But he's in the mix now. He's at least in the deeper mix, and this is a deep division. But how many fights should he have to win to get a bantamweight title shot?
I think he's only going to have to win one.
You think so?
I think, and it'll probably be against Corey Sandhagen when he's healthy.
I like that fight. That's a good fight.
Because
and I think it's deserving. I think you're right.
Right. Aljo's leaving 35 to go to 45.
That's what he said. Yeah, he said he wants to go to 45, and he's calling out Max Holloway. That's what he's gunning for.
Okay. So
although I wouldn't hate him against Figueiredo either. I think that would be a fantastic fight. But it doesn't sound like he's sticking around. And I do think if he does stick at 35, that's a fight that should interest him. It's former champion.
I think he did mention. Well, he mentioned that he inspired him to go up.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Okay.
Due to his performance tonight.
Sure. Okay.
So you'll have Merab versus O'Malley for the red jacket, and Cejudo and Figueiredo train together. So
you're writing
each other.
You're already writing off Marlon Vera against.
He's right there.
Yeah, but he's fighting Sean O'Malley. That already is booked.
Oh, they booked. I didn't know they booked that.
They did a face off in Newark or in New York. Excuse me, when we were there.
I just don't follow the news anymore.
Sorry, buddy.
It just doesn't interest me.
Oh, should have just asked me. I was there.
I thought I did ask you. You didn't tell me anything.
No, not true. I tell you everything.
I
tell you every little detail, especially about the fight for Fontana.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So they're actually doing this.
They are doing that. That's in March. That's in March.
So far away.
So now we have to work with that and say, okay, what do we do from here? But I do think you're right. I do think he could only need to necessarily win one more. And I like Sandhagen.
Well, he's getting punished. That's why I'm saying Sandhagen.
I don't think he is being punished, though. They
did not like that fight at all.
They didn't, but Dana seemed to be okay with it. Kind of like he wasn't like throwing him under the bus like he often does. And that's not really his style, to not throw him under the bus unless he has reason, So I'll take him at his word here, which is a leap. But my understanding is that Corey does not want to fight Umar again. That fight, he feels like Umar kind of missed the boat. So he'd rather just move on from somebody else. And I do like the idea of Figueiredo versus Sandhagen, because the winner of that legitimately looks like someone who would be a credible title challenger. But then again, I would hate for Merab Dvalishvili to be skipped over. But Merab's supposed to be fighting Henry Cejudo, isn't he? Do I understand that right?
I mean, it all makes sense. I don't know. I didn't know Vera was scheduled to get the next shot.
That's true. You've been out of the loop.
So I didn't know they wanted to rerun that fight back, and we might get the same result.
Which one?
O'Malley and Vera. I don't like a rematch so quick like that.
I guess it isn't official yet, but it did sound like they were trying to do him and Cejudo. If not, I mean, honestly,
I like Merab and Cejudo. I think that's a good fight. But
imagine if they don't do that. What about Merab against? And you got me calling him Merab. That's not how it is. Anyway,
it's Merab.
It's Merab.
Merab. Merab. Merab, you Rob.
I like him against Figueiredo as well, because the winner of that is easily a contender too. I think that'd be a perfectly fine fight.
Yeah, that's a good fight too.
There's like almost like no bad fights you can do, because there's so many fresh fights, of course, for Figueiredo. And again, he's the former champ, so it really shouldn't take him long to go up again, to get up to that point again.
No, one fight.
That's
1 win.
I think we're united here. Well done, sir.
Good job.
Yeah. I want to circle back, though, to the fight for Fontana, because I feel like we should probably be dominantly talking about this fight.
Just forget the rest. This is all we're talking about.
Hey, contested rounds is canceled this week. We're only talking about this fight. Well, there is an actual CSJ adjacent related reason to be talking about this fight, sir. It's the way it ended.
Yeah.
Jalin Turner, of course, got the win here, as we mentioned. Convincing win over Bobby Green. I don't think anyone's wondering, did he really beat him or not? He really beat him. He really beat Bobby Green so much that Kerry Hatley allowed him to eat, I don't know how many punches, past the point of maybe good taste.
Probably like 15 too many.
It was a lot too many. I mean, there was a point where like he's still moving around a bit and it was looking rough, but they let it go, and it's like, okay, you can kind of understand the way sometimes it's like, Dominic Cruz would be sitting there he's probably still sitting there now saying like, I don't know, probably should have given him a few more. Ref's got to give him chances. Ring rust isn't real. But Kerry Hatley, the referee here, definitely allowed him to take 1 or 2 shots, Bobby Green, where he basically was limp. That was pretty ugly.
I think he got knocked out 3 times.
He got knocked out a lot. He certainly wouldn't be complaining about not getting enough chances there, and he certainly wasn't. He did like an Instagram video afterward, and he was saying, got to live with essentially you got to live with the losses and live with the wins the same way. So it doesn't seem like he's kind of hung up on anything about it. But yeah, that was a tough one to watch.
I've never seen a fighter complain about getting too long of a leash.
Yeah,
I've never seen.
I can't imagine they would.
That.
At least not while they're still fighting. Maybe one day they'll look back and be like, that changed my life.
He took a beating.
He took a real beating there. That was definitely
probably could have ended it after the one shot that sent him to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably could. Look, Kerry Hatley he's not a bad ref.
No.
He's not. I don't know why in Texas they insist on saying like make sure he gets a couple of judging assignments too whenever the UFC comes to town, but it's what they do. Texas beat Texas. But this was rough. This was very rough. I hope it doesn't necessarily become like an overcorrection kind of thing, but hey, maybe once we just see the limpness, that's it. End. Can we just end it? I
think so.
And that's what I would hope would happen next time. So.
You know what's funny? All the people that are calling for him to never ref again, don't even know his name.
No, they don't.
They're like, that ref, whoever that was, should never ref again. Yeah. As if Kerry Hatley's like some unknown guy.
Well, if you don't pay attention to the names of the refs, he is an unknown guy. But he definitely does a lot of assignments.
He does a ton of fights.
His face should be, if nothing else, his face should look familiar. If you regularly watch, and if you're watching UFC Austin, you regularly watch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't like?
If you watch anything between a pay-per-view, you are a regular UFC fan.
You know what I
always.
didn't like?
What's up?
Joe Rogan was in the crowd.
He was, yeah, because he lives in Texas now. Austin. He lives in Austin.
Yep, and not replacing Brendan Fitzgerald.
But he wouldn't replace Fitzgerald. He would replace.
We're changing it. We're just going 3 color guys. That's it. Bisping can take point. And that's it.
Yeah, but I don't know that it would go well.
It would have been fantastic.
I don't think it's going to go well, my friend.
I would have loved it.
Yeah. But here's the thing: when you have 3 former fighters or former, I guess he's not a former fighter, so I'll take it back. Never mind. I'm gonna just pretend I didn't say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Joe's a former fighter-ish.
Sir, no.
Not an MMA fighter, but he has Taekwondo fights.
Sure. Fine.
Then you got Bisping.
When we're talking about fighter in this context, you know what I mean, sir.
Oh.
A mixed martial arts competitor. Okay. He is not that. Unless you have played the UFC video game, in which case he is.
You can play as Joe Rogan?
Not in this one, but in past ones I'm pretty sure he was in.
Oh.
You can play as Dana in this one.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's rated higher than several fighters.
Is he God mode?
No. But he's got a 4-star rating, whereas there are fighters who have 3.5 and 3.
What's Jim Miller?
7, I believe. 7 out of 5.
They got it right.
I'm almost positive it's 7 out of 5.
I was just confirming that they got it right.
Yeah. And then who else? Bruce Buffer's in it. Yeah. Bruce is a long-time martial arts practitioner. He is a much more viable candidate to be in this game than Dana White.
Sure.
Let's move on to the judging, though. Starting with the unanimity report from UFC Austin, we had 16 rounds in all. 12 of them were unanimous for a 75% rate. That is perfectly solid. You like to see it. Doesn't necessarily work out that way all the time from Texas. And 2 of the 4 were 8-9 splits. So most of the time they were on the same page of the round. At least we have that. Let's talk about those 4 rounds. And I think what I want to do, if you're cool with it, my friend, is lead with the 2 8-9 splits.
Sure.
Every round is in a different fight. We didn't have any fights where it was like 2 or 3 rounds at least. So let's lead. And this was a fight you were looking forward to. Sean Brady against Kelvin Gastelum. Brady. What?
It's funny that you say that because I was looking forward to this fight. And then they start doing the walkouts. And I'm like, wait a minute. Michigan's on. And I changed the channel because I only had one TV going for this. So I was like,
why'd you do that?
I'm going to be watching the Big Ten Championship.
Why'd you have one TV going on the one day where there's a billion conference championships and fights? Because
I was hanging out with the dog and I couldn't trust him by himself. And I didn't want to lock him up.
But why?
So
you watched on the one.
So
TV.
I watched on
I see. Outside of your normal.
Outside of the normal.
Your normal man cave. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. Now that makes more sense. That is hilarious though. Yeah. but no, of course, Sean Brady. Again, you were looking forward to this fight.
I was.
Sean Brady gets the win. Round 3 submission via Kimura.
I'm actually shocked this fight happened.
Oh, well, yeah, I know you are because you always think Kelvin Gastelum's just not going to show up because of the weight. Sir, he'll always show up. He might weigh 180 for a 170, but he'll show up.
But also getting hurt too. Not even making it to weigh-ins.
Fair enough. Well, he made it to weigh-ins. He made it to the fight. He didn't make it the distance. But
round 2, all 3.
But round 2 along the way, we do have a debate over the degree to which he absorbed Sean Brady's will. So let's talk about round 2.
Yeah, Brady got like an almost instant takedown. It seemed like Gastelum slipped a little bit. And after that, it's just all him. There really isn't much damage this round, but he does land, some decent shots, some ground and pound. Has Gastelum on the defensive the entire time, moving from mount to back to mount. Kelvin can't do anything, can't escape. 100% defensive. Damage just wasn't that high, but I do think we have high dominance, high duration. I think it's an 8.
I like an 8 here too, but for the reasons you mentioned, for the reasons that we talk about each week, damage is not really easily checked here. And I can understand why, with the rules we have as written as they are and applied as they have been, especially, I get why this can just be a 9.
Mm-hmm.
I went 8 like you. I did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's one of those ones that you really just kind of have to have a philosophical lean to go that way in this particular case. Not in all cases, but this particular case. They're all obviously on a case by case basis. So, but yeah, I went the 9. I went the 8. Just like you. I'm comfortable with it. It just doesn't strike me as a round where it's like Brady's kind of just, holding on or something like that with his dominance and his duration, which is, I feel like that should be the key difference maker when we're talking about if dominance and duration are checked but not damage. Is this a round where somebody was gotten to the back, for example, and just kind of held on? Or is it a round where there is an effort made to do more with that? You may not be getting there, but you're very clearly making the way through. And effort isn't necessarily something you should be rewarding technically in the criteria, but when it comes to grappling, it almost have to read into that a little bit. Am I wrong?
I get where you're going. I have a little tweak.
Okay.
I think if you do get to the back, you're in the most dominant position. There's no reason to advance beyond that.
Sure, but what if you're not attacking subs and you're not throwing in punches and things like that? What if it's truly just like a ride?
So like Randy and Sylvia.
I guess kind of like that, yeah.
I guess, yeah. That's
where it gets trickier, right?
Yeah, and then you gotta factor in, is the guy even trying to escape?
Sure.
Is he just holding tight and waiting for the round?
If it's a stalemate, this doesn't feel like a dominant round. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a round that's such that, okay, this person's trying to earn the 8. I think Brady's trying to earn the 8. And I think he actually,
was, yeah.
I think because of that, and because it just doesn't look like a round where Gastelum does anything, I think I feel much more comfortable with getting that be an 8 in this case. And I would like, again, this is very complex, right? I feel like the 8 needs to be more complexly worded in so many different ways so that we can not have to account for every situation, but we should be a little more uniform in the way we can apply it to a round like this, I think. I think this ought to be an 8. I think we ought to be able to get this one an 8. But I can understand why, even if that, this could still be more of a borderline one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we went against the majority here. That was a 10-9 for Brady from judges Patrick Patland, the local judge from Texas, who we've been unfortunate to have talked about before. But in this case, it's more of a philosophical difference. So that's fine. Sal D'Amato agreed with Judge Patland. Plenty of respect for Judge D'Amato. Not a problem there. But we went with Chris Lee. What does that mean for Judge Lee?
Couchside override.
It's a good one for Chris Lee.
Yeah.
I mean the siren that came out really good. I was proud.
You did, yeah. You
I was proud.
Blew up my eardrums. Yeah.
Good. That's good. I hope I did that to my listeners too.
Yeah.
See you later. It was nice having you. /sorry. We got one more 10-8-9 split to talk about, and this is involving the other former champion on the card, Miesha Tate, who was I guess you could call the featured prelim, but when we're talking about prelims that lead into more network aired or televised, not on pay-per-view aired, it's kind of goofy to call it a feature prelim. It's just another prelim. I don't know why they didn't put this card up anywhere. Miesha Tate got the win over Julia Avila. Another round 3 submission here. This one via rear naked choke. Total domination, total lopsidedness, I should say, throughout this fight for Miesha Tate until she gets the finish. Round 1, we're actually talking about the 8-9 here. So why are we?
Well, it's one-way traffic, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Miesha immediately on a double ends up against the fence for a while before getting it down to the ground. She's landing some good punches. She has that one hook in. She's landing some, elbows here and there. Finally puts both hooks in, gets the body triangle, starts landing some good damaging shots, elbows, punches, sometimes, threatening the choke. I think we got complete domination, all 3 Ds. This needs to be an 8.
I guess I can sort of, and I'm very begrudging on this one. It's hard for me to say it, but I'll do it. The damage one is the one that's the closest to not being there. I think that's probably fair to say, right? If the last one you get to go over the hump is the damage. I think.
Sure.
But I still think it's there. I think it's there. I'm with you. I don't want to misconstrue it. I'm very much with you. This is an 8, but the damage is the one that's a little closer. But this is a round that, like, I'm talking about, like, kind of that effort to, like, do more with. Miesha Tate is very much doing stuff with these dominant positions. She's getting the back and she's mixing in hard strikes, right? That's the kind of thing that you really, if I'm coaching a fighter and they get that position and you don't know that you have that submission there, I'm screaming, elbow the heck out of their head. Just smash their head. Make it look real good for those judges so that when they're sitting there saying, do I give the 8 or the 9? And I might be able to make a difference in this particular round. If it goes to the cards and it ends up being a close fight, I might salvage a majority draw or even somehow a unanimous draw. Might salvage something like that where it could have been a loss. You gotta preach that, I think, to your fighter. And she's doing it here. She absolutely does it. And obviously, there was no doubt about who won this fight. She won all the rounds, and she won this one 2 out of 3, getting an 8. But I really love that she's putting all the effort in to try and go the extra mile. That's what you want. And it is definitely disappointing to see that Judge Chris Lee, and this fight happened earlier than the Brady fight, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
did not go 8. He gave a 9 here, when later on he gives the 8. And again, that context is definitely a key to understanding, hey, how can this kind of thing happen? But at the same time, it's like, man, what were you looking for? What'd you want?
Yeah, I don't know what else you needed to do.
I don't know that we need this to be a true beatdown. There's nothing. Julia Avila, I made a snide comment to you as I was watching the round, right? Because I was watching these rounds with you later on. I was like, oh, look, the stats on the screen. Hey, there's her one significant strike. This was like with like 9 seconds to go in the round from Julia Avila. So not only did she do basically nothing, she was dominated the entire round, and she got her head punched in and elbowed in for much of it too. So, and there's definitely a clear effort to reach dominant grappling positions where Miesha Tate is delivering strikes and imposing her will. So I'm just not sure what we're looking for here if this isn't an 8. And part of this is, hey, listen, we talk every week about how we can't get an agreement kind of thing about what an 8 and what a 9 are. But if anybody's going to know, if anyone is going to be on the same page, you would think, as an outsider, that Sal D'Amato and Chris Lee, who work together extremely frequently, would be on the same page here. And in both cases, they were on opposite sides. And while we disagreed with the one, that was a more borderline case from Judge D'Amato. This one is clear. This one's, I think, pretty obvious. And Judge D'Amato agreed with Judge Mike Beltran, who did not referee, just judged.
Why?
Because, I don't know, it's okay.
Why?
Would you have rather it been Doug Crosby, who has worked in Texas before?
But we had the one guy who doesn't judge as often, is known as a ref. And they're like, you know what? You're not reffing, you're judging.
I don't know.
Meanwhile, you got 2 guys doing double duty.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't tell you. But I can tell you that he definitely judged this correctly as an 8, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think Chris Lee did. And I think that's unfortunate. This is just continuing a trend that we've seen from Chris Lee all year of very inconsistent 8s and 9s and 7s. And 7s, can't forget that.
His compass is all thrown off, and it's probably because they get different information everywhere they go.
But I don't think you're wrong, but also I think that a judge like Chris Lee or a judge like Sal D'Amato or Ron McCarthy or somebody who travels, someone who judges frequently, someone who's licensed in Nevada or California, and they work with kind of those influencing commissions, right? I think they take their understandings with them wherever they go. And no matter what their guidance is, unless it's, hey, you don't do it this way, you're fired, I'm pretty sure they're just going to judge it the same way. And I don't imagine they're going to get that ultimatum, and it'd be a hard one to prove. So I don't get it. I just don't know. At least we're getting 8s in Texas. I feel like for a long time, that was like frowned upon. Even the local judge, Patrick Patland in the last fight, well, not in the last fight, but Mike Beltran is technically he's not a local judge. He's from California. So yeah, I take that back. Everything I just said. No local judges gave the 8. I'm wrong. Local judges don't do it, but the ones with some experience outside, they're doing it. Yeah, Mike Beltran's from California. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what it is about these 8s and 9s and 7s that's getting crisscrossed. See what I did there?
Oh, look at you.
I'm wearing my shirt forwards. But for whatever reason, every week I feel like, not every week, but like several times this year, we've seen scenarios where he's just been completely out of step on the 8s or 9s. And in some cases, it's him. In some cases, other judges where they're correcting from earlier later on, and it's almost like an overcorrection. That's one thing that it seems like a lot of officials might need to be wary of if they're trying to correct. Be careful not to overcorrect. I can't tell them what to do, but I mean, the results are there, and maybe it's just food for thought.
Yeah, I got nothing more to add to that.
All right. You want to talk about some more fights?
Yeah, we got 2 more.
Let's talk about a split decision.
Okay.
One that opened up the card. This is our only decision that we're actually talking about a round from. And it did happen to be a split decision. Veronica Hardy got the win over Jamie Lynn Horth via a split, like I said. 29-28 all around. 2 for Hardy, 1 for Horth. Round 2 is our fulcrum.
Yeah, this is the round I was talking about. I don't like the score.
Okay.
This should
you
not
started
have been
talking about it, I had a feeling. So let's hear this. Let's
this
talk
really
about
shouldn't be a split.
it. Okay, let's hear it.
On the feet, Hardy's definitely, winning. I don't think Horth landed anything in the first minute and a half. It was very aggressive, throwing some wild shots. None of them connected. When they start grapplings, when Horth actually, gets a little offense. Nothing great. Some knees, gets her to the ground, some punches. And then she stands up and gets wobbled with an up kick. I mean, Hardy definitely won on the feet. Horth didn't surpass her on the ground with her grappling. And then Horth gets rocked a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the right score, I think. Hardy.
I think I'm with you. You know what? I knew how I scored this, and I knew why I scored this, but I think when you frame it that way, I do agree with you that seems like the right way to go here. I thought it was maybe just a little closer before the up kick, but the up kick is easily the most significant thing of the whole round, like by a wide margin in a otherwise close round, if nothing else.
I would say lower impact, a lower successful output.
Sure, but let's just say for argument's sake, it's like almost dead even, right? Which it could in theory be.
Mm-hmm.
That kick, that up kick,
it swings it.
It has to swing it. I think it absolutely has to swing it. So I am definitely with you here. The only thing that makes any sense is not seeing that it landed. Maybe you had a different angle.
Perhaps.
It's the only thing, because it is one strike. It's literally the only strike that matters. Now, to miss it is pretty bad, right? There might be justifications for it based on your angle, and maybe you're not watching the screen or whatever, because the screen looks pretty clear, right? But also you'd probably be able to hear the impact too. I'm speculating. I'm not there, but I would think you'd be able to hear the impact.
I would think so.
So
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I never got to do it.
No, I hope you get your day in the sun
one day.
But yeah, we'll just say that I think Patrick Patlan and Sal D'Amato were on the right end of this one, scoring it for Hardy. Jacob Montalvo scored this one for Horth, and I don't think it's a great score either. Do we add this to the list?
We could put it on
You
the
want
list.
to put it on the list?
Might as well.
We're going to have to parse through this list soon.
Because
Because we're going to be talking about these in a couple weeks.
It's not actually that long.
Is that right?
List. It's like 20 rounds.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, it's when you say 20, it sounds long, but also when you figure it's like hundreds and hundreds, I think it's well over 1,000 rounds we're talking about. It's really not that bad. It's actually a pretty good rate. But hey, could always be better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I'm with you. I think let's add it to the list.
Okay.
Not a great score. Fortunately, didn't cost Veronica Hardy the win. Who pointed out, by the way, at the end of her fight about damage and all that being a difference maker, her husband, Dan Hardy, has quite a good understanding, it seems, of the way fights are scored. He takes an interest in making sure he understands it correctly.
Someone in a fighter's corner knows what
I know, right?
About?
I know, right?
Oh,
So hey, credit to their team in understanding that and kind of things. One more round here, my friend. This was also in a finish. Dustin Stoltzfus got the win over Punahele Soriano. Try that again. Round 2 submission. Another rear naked choke. It's also we're all talking about subs on this one. This is interesting. So basically, if you had a split round or if you had a contested round, you probably went on to get a finish. Maybe you didn't, but probably by submission.
Most likely
by submission.
Yeah.
Round 1 is the round we're talking about because, of course, round 2 was when it ended. So what's going on?
I thought it was a good back and forth round. Soriano whacked Stoltzfus early with a nice right that had him off balance. Throughout, he attacked the head, body, and legs really well. Stoltzfus kept it competitive, but I do think Soriano had the edge. At the bell, Soriano gets dropped, but he pops right back up. He wasn't rocked. I think Soriano landed the heavier, more effective blows on the whole, so that's why I went Soriano.
Yeah, they're showing like that. They showed the numbers on the screen at one point, which obviously the judges don't have, but there is more activity, especially to different targets coming from Stoltzfus based on that particular, unofficial number. But I still felt like every time it was Soriano landing, and they were critical of this on the on the broadcast, like, oh, he can't just keep throwing that left like that. And it's like, well, he can. It's
He
working.
definitely can, but I also
It's working.
He did land leg kicks. It's like
Yeah, no,
it's
he's
not like
doing
he
more.
didn't.
For sure.
That graphic said 0.
But that left hand in particular really was doing work, and I think that's what won him this round. I think he really did enough here. It's close. It's close enough.
They both sting each other.
Yeah,
I just don't think that knockdown had him more hurt than he had when he wobbled Stoltzfus in the beginning of the round.
I just think Soriano stings him more. But that's certainly up for debate. So I felt pretty good about Soriano here. As I was watching this round, I was almost like, really? Are we this round? But it was competitive enough. It was just early on, especially Soriano was landing with so much impact.
Yeah, and that knockdown is a big moment.
It's something for sure.
But it's like he popped right up. He's like,
yeah,
let's go.
I wonder if that was the moment that swung it for the local judges, Gino Garcia and Patrick Patlan. I don't know. Sure, it's okay. That's not a bad one. But Mike Beltran was the one who got it for Soriano, just like you and me. So what does that mean for Judge Beltran?
Catch that over. I think that's your first.
I think that's his first too. So he will take that home, not to Texas, but to California.
Yeah.
Unless he moved to Texas, and I didn't know. That might be. But I'm going to say probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got to figure it out. I'm going to mail it out.
Yeah.
Unless he has a forwarding address. In which case, I just will end up having to blame the mail service anyway.
Well,
when I say blame the mail service, because it's their fault. It's always their fault that you guys don't get your couch side overrides. That's true. It's not me. And that's it. That was our 4 rounds. Again, there were 9 finishes here. A lot of finishes. 5 by KO or TKO. 4 by submission. We already talked about 3 of them. 4 of these fights ended in the first round. You had a lot of choices, my friend. I had a feeling I knew what your favorite would be, but why don't you share it?
It actually wasn't a slam dunk.
No.
I thought Gooden also.
Jared Gooden, also a former CFFC guy. Had a really nice finish. Okay.
Really nice rear naked choke. But no, my favorite was Sean Brady Kimura-ing a guy who wasn't even expected to fight tonight in total dominating fashion. And he got the win. You never see a Kimura these days.
It's true.
So
it's true.
I'm going with that.
I can't remember. Like, I was trying to think about this. Even as he was pulling it off, I'm like, oh, he's going to get this. It's like, it's really going to happen. Because usually when we see a Kimura, it's not going to get that close, or it's like working toward a sweep, right?
Yeah,
but this one just looked like it was done even before he got there. And I already had enough time to think to myself, I'm like, when is the last time we had one? And I don't know what that is, actually.
I was thinking maybe Paul, Mr. Wonderful, with the one arm Kimura.
He must have had some more recently.
And then I think back, I'm like, oh, maybe it's Frank Mir and Lil Nah.
I think of that one too. I think that might have been more recent than the Mr. Wonderful.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I don't know that, but I think so.
I mean, in the UFC, a Kimura is not. I mean, Jim Miller will get the next one.
Obviously, unless he gets an omoplata.
But yeah, that too.
Yeah, maybe both.
Kimura is so fun.
The Kimura plata.
Well, that omoplata is a Kimura.
I understand what it is. I'm just saying. Just trying. If we can have fun here.
If we can, no, okay. Hear me out.
All right, I'm hearing you out.
Someone with really long arms. Kimura is the other arm while you're in an omoplata.
So like Jalin Turner?
He might, if he can get the Kimura plata.
Yeah, maybe. Especially give him a really short guy. Maybe.
That would be fun.
Although maybe a shorter guy would be more wide. I don't know. Maybe they both need long limbs.
Yeah, that might help.
Yeah. Bunch of spiders going at each other. Yeah. He's the tarantula, of course. But yeah, that was definitely a good finish. I like that one.
And yours?
Well, since I wasn't going to pick that one, but I could have. Drakkar Klose. One of the 2 slam KOs.
Mm-hmm.
He got it on Joe Selecki, and I think his was even better than Corey Brundage, who did it to Zachary Reese like 1 fight later.
Yep.
Which was insane. And also insane is the fact that they were talking about the Rampage Slam from Pride during the curtain jerker between Hardy and Horth. They just randomly brought this up, and then a couple fights later, we get 2 slam KOs. Like they said, it was the 13th and 14th in UFC history.
You gotta manifest it.
They did. They obviously did. There was a little bit of supernatural there,
Mm.
but that was great. That was because they brought up the fact that usually when you see that slam KO, it's on like the back of the head, and in this case, Klose actually managed to slam Selecki's head down on like the temple, so it just like shook his brain from side to side this time, and he was very out. That was amazing.
Yeah, there was people joking that they forgot to put an extra layer of padding underneath the canvas.
Maybe they did. What if they did?
Yeah, I guess I like slams because they're rare.
Sure.
But it's also like, you don't know how to escape an armbar, dude. You got to resort to these untechnical ways, just picking a guy up and slamming him.
But what if you just have faith in that ability to do that? What if it's just that?
I feel you're gonna lose an arm and be out for a while eventually.
Well, it depends how much it's really in.
So I don't know.
Hey,
it does. But to be honest, it's like their first resort is just pick him up and slam him. It's like the first thing they think of.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Did it work?
I said it worked. I said it worked.
I know.
But again,
I hear you. I hear you as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I get it. I do. But I mean, sometimes these things just work.
It falls into the puncher's chance category.
But then there's the people who say jiu-jitsu doesn't work
because of all things like this.
Yeah.
And then Chase Hooper's posting. He's like, "No, you do this when this happens."
I saw Chase posted that, which is fair and nice and educational. Good on Chase to do that. Spread the word. No one will read it though. They're just gonna try and slam next time.
No, of course. There's gonna bam, bam.
Look, if it leads to more arm bars, are you gonna be that mad?
No,
I didn't think so.
But if it means fighters fight less, yeah, because of that.
What do you mean?
They break their arm, they're gonna fight less.
Oh well, yeah, but there's like 7,000 people on the UFC roster. They don't really care. They're just bodies.
They truly don't care.
They're literally just like cattle.
Yeah,
interchangeable cattle.
I think
and all those documents that were leaking kind of made that very clear.
Circling all the way back to that.
Yeah,
Lorenzo Fertitta came out the best. He's like, no, don't cut Nog.
Yeah, I saw that. and I mean, for goodness sake, like, I think a lot of people understand, like, Lorenzo not being there has changed the way the product looks. And it's changed the way the roster looks, and it's changed the makeup of the focus on having the best people.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly looks from the outside that Lorenzo was the one who was pushing it to be most like sport.
Yeah, because now it's sign everybody and whoever sticks.
Yeah.
Try to find that, whatever's there.
And look, it's really nice that they do have a pathway to identify some prospects and try to lure prospects their way so they do, in fact, get the bright talent to come in through their doors. Mm-hmm. It's just nice. Like, it's really smart on them for a lot of reasons. And, it's led to bringing in some great talent like Jamal Hill, who, had a fight with his brother. Yeah. We're not getting into that one. But they found some really good talent through that. Sean O'Malley as well. It's a good pathway. But they have, I think, over-focused on it too much to build their roster solely around guys who are on 12-12 deals from that show, or 10-10. And it's bloated the roster greatly. It's bloated events greatly. This one, fortunately, only had 12 fights on it. 12 is like a good number. 12 is like the throwback, like, usual number that they would hit. We've had too many that are like 13, 14, and sometimes it just gets a little exhausting, especially when you put the heavyweights on there.
Especially when they go overseas, I feel they have the bigger, longer cards.
Yeah, I think that's true.
More fighters on it.
How many times did they go overseas the last like 4 years now? So they don't really do it anymore, except for Fight Island and Australia. No, and now England a little bit.
If they do a Dublin card, I feel it's going to be like 16 fights.
They don't have that many Irish fighters anymore.
No, but they got a lot of people from the UK. In that area that are going to, fight close to home.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they should make a UFC International Champions Series to go with Bellator. International Champions Series.
Do the International Series. That'd be cool. For sure.
They should do that because that's really the greatest way to do it. And it would be UFC ICS.
Yes.
Everyone would call it UFC ICS.
UFC
ICS. You guys want just like DWCS, right?
Yeah.
Dana White Contender Series.
The Contender.
Yeah, the Contender, like Mike calls it. I like that, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the Contender, which was the boxing show on ESPN way back. Sugar Ray Leonard was on it, right?
I don't remember that show, actually.
You don't remember? I had a buddy who was really into that one. Okay. I didn't watch it myself. I think Stallone might have been involved, too.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. But I didn't watch it. Anyway, I think we're probably done talking about UFC Austin, which, again, I think all things considered, yeah, we added a fight to it, and yeah, we wrung our hands over 8-9s, but really, could have been worse.
Could have been a lot worse.
Let's move on to the coming weekend. UFC Vegas 83, which is not UFC Shanghai, notably, which is what they were, I think, originally planning to do for this one.
Oh, thank God. Oh, you just dropped a bomb on me.
Surprise.
Oh, thank God. Okay, we got normal timed fights.
Well, it's still late for a fight night, but it's also like a normal late or a 10 o'clock start. It is 6 fights on the... actually, I think right now they only have 5 fights planned on the main card, so it should wrap around like 12:30.
Yeah, the main card that has no distinction when you put the prelims on, it just rolls right into it.
Fact.
Yeah.
Fact. But the main event, at least, is something that there's a definitive.
I like the main event.
Yeah. Song Yadong, Chris Gutierrez, 135. This is like another one of... It's not quite in that championship mix, but it's like just outside of it, especially in Song Yadong's case, who realistically looked very good against Corey Sandhagen until that cut was disgusting and he had to stop.
Yeah, that was nasty.
He
nasty
had
cut.
to. I mean, I think we remember that when we were both saying, or at least I was, probably should have been stopped around earlier.
I forget my feelings on that.
I was pretty clear. I think I'm pretty clear about mine. But hey, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember everything in my life. But yeah, I think he especially is in that mix. But if Chris Gutierrez gets the win here too, I mean, shoot, he's very much a guy who looks the part of a top 10 bantamweight to me. Maybe there's too many top 10 bantamweights and that's why he's too far down, but he's a really good fighter. His kicks are incredible, his leg kicks. I'm curious to see what he can do. Song Yadong, though, is really good.
Song Yadong is very good.
He's got a lot of losses, but he's still so young. I feel like part of that's just he kind of got pushed too fast because he's so good.
He beat Marlon Vera.
Yeah, he did beat Marlon Vera, who was fighting for the title. If you don't
That
forget.
I just found
That
out.
you just found out on air. This is, of course, being in Vegas instead of China. We'll have Nevada judges.
That's good.
That's always fun. There's some decent other fights on this card, especially for an Apex card. Anthony Smith stepping in on late notice to fight Khalil Roundtree Jr. at 205.
Yeah, I'm more on it for Khalil Roundtree. I mean, Anthony Smith, I've soured on him ever since he's been an analyst.
Why is that?
I just don't like the way anything really.
You don't like his analysis?
I thought he was so cringe when he was trying to pick that fight with John Jones. I think they were still on Fox at that point.
I don't remember.
He's like, I'm next, John, or blah, blah, blah. And then John's like, Anthony, shut up. And then they got into this stupid argument. And ever since then, I've soured on Anthony Smith.
I will say, because I don't remember that distinctly, but I definitely remember Paul Felder was angling for fights a little bit when he was still an active fighter, which apparently he's planning a comeback.
Yeah, he's fighting Jim. Jim's got one warm-up fight, and then at 300, he's going to waffle Felder.
What are you talking about? You said he was going to fight for the title. You're confusing
He's supposed to fight for the title, but they're not going to let him.
Oh, fair enough.
Joe Silva's here.
But
said no.
My point was that Felder used to do something similar to that. And I have to think, because we haven't seen that anymore, I have to think that probably these fighters have been instructed, hey, no. And I think part of it was because there were some fighters who were kind of like, yo, what the heck? Like, they get this platform to do this, and I don't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it just seemed like too much of a career advantage. So I wonder if that was part of it. But we're neither here nor there. Do you like this fight, though, Smith and Roundtree?
Nah, I think Roundtree should win.
Okay.
I'm Anthony Smith is not on my team.
Yeah, but you can still be interested in the fight. I mean, he brings the action.
Does he?
Yeah, he's been in some good fights.
Slow and plodding. I think Khalil Roundtree's going to chew him up.
Well, oftentimes he finds himself in 10-8s and 10-7 rounds, so
yeah,
that's fun for our show.
That makes it fun, yeah.
Determining
10s and 8s.
How about Andre Muniz against the Iron Turtle, Jun Young Park?
Yeah, that should be a pretty good one.
My favorite nickname. I love it.
Iron Turtle.
I wish that there was a Ninja Turtles character named the Iron Turtle.
Speaking of the Iron Turtle.
Oh, I thought we were talking Ninja Turtles. Then you really had me. All right, what do you got?
Speaking of the Iron Turtle, they announced Game of Thrones, the House of Dragons coming back next summer.
What does that have to do with the other?
The Iron Turtle. I thought of the Iron Throne, and that's how my brain works.
Fair enough. At least I understand it now. But I like that fight. I like Muniz and Park. Muniz still stunned me. I thought he was like really on the verge of exploding, and that obviously did not happen.
I mean, well, when you break Jacare's arm.
Yeah, it really impressed me, and then it just didn't happen for him. But Jun Young Park, he's a tough dude, and he's got a great nickname, so I like that fight. Tatsuro Taira I also like against Carlos Hernandez. Taira's definitely a good prospect at 125. I like him a lot.
He's undefeated.
Yeah. You think he will be after this one?
Yeah.
All right. Every time I see the name Carlos Hernandez, I think he must have been a catcher. And I don't mean this one, but there must be another Carlos Hernandez that I'm thinking of along the way who was like a decent catcher.
Carlos Hernandez. There probably was a catcher.
Try him out in Immaculate Grid.
I'm a little upset about Immaculate Grid.
Yeah.
Baseball was very easy.
I flubbed something because I tried too hard. But I
was upset recently about. I can't remember. But I was upset about it.
Yeah. Well, no one knows what we're talking about. So were there any other fights you wanted to see, by the way, other than the ones I highlighted here?
Not really.
Yeah. That's a decent card for Apex.
It's okay. Yeah.
Well, it's probably because they were also trying not to have it at Apex. So anytime they import a card that was supposed to go somewhere else, it ends up here. It's like, yeah, it's not so bad. And then I highlighted the contested rounds candidate to be Rayan dos Santos against Talita Alencar. This is at 115, but if I'm not mistaken, Rayan dos Santos is the one who just won Invicta's atomweight title off of Jalin Corsi.
Oh, she got signed.
She got signed, and yeah, she moved up. So she's little. Yeah. especially for this weight class. But she brings violence. That said, I'm always leery of someone going up from 105 to 115. It's like, are they gonna carry that finishing power?
That's a big jump.
It is a big jump. It's a lot of percentage of body weight. So I have to think it's gonna end up going to the cards. And percentage wise, I mean, shoot, a lot of strawweight fights get split rounds. It's just the way it goes.
Actually, Jamin Malarkey would be pretty interesting. Him and Nasrat Haqparast.
That is a good fight. You know what?
So
I like that one too. I definitely overlooked that one. So good call.
And that does it. We're coming back next Monday to break down these fights that are now in Las Vegas.
And I think pretty much everything UFC related the rest of the way is in Las Vegas before they go on their little month-long hiatus.
Yeah, we got 2 more weekends of fights, and that's it.
What are we gonna do? What after that?
We got stuff.
We'll figure it out. Have some pizza.
Thanks for listening.
Take care, y'all.